Hi guys, it's me again, Adam, alcoholic and weed addict. I'm just checking in with my daily update on my sobriety journey from all mind altering drugs. So yesterday we ended the video with me in the middle of sharing my darkest secrets, and we'll continue. So my sponsor asked me to write down 10 times that I felt clean and comfortable in my life without drinking drugs. And on this question, I pondered for a long time. Went out for a cigarette and I pondered some more. And I came back in really stuck for answers because I'd only come up with two. The first one was when I was younger than 14 and I hadn't actually tried drinking drugs. That answer was easy. The only other one I could genuinely say that I was genuinely comfortable without drinking drugs was on my wedding day. And that was partly because I'd recently done the private counselling we talked about yesterday. So I messaged my sponsor and I told him that I was struggling to answer this one. And he's called me up and said, "Well done, Adam, you found the trick question that was there to find out if you're the real deal addict or not, and we can now establish I am the real deal. So let's get back to the nitty gritty and get this stuff out there." So hopefully my brutal honesty will encourage struggling addicts who still suffer to reach out and get some help. My sponsor asked me to write down 10 times that I drank more than I intended to, or took drugs more than I intended to. And this question was also really difficult for me to answer because I had to come up with 10 options and not 10,000. So the first one was at a staff party at the Prestonfield House Hotel in Edinburgh, and I promised myself I'd only have a few drinks with a 3-course meal. On arrival, I was greeted with a glass of Prosecco, which I tanned pretty quickly while consciously trying to sip it, which was an alien concept to me. We sit down for dinner and I'm handed another glass of Prosecco, which I drink pretty quickly. My chef friend next to me asks me to ask the waitress for another glass for the table, and it's delivered. I ask for another and I'm told I need to pay for it, so we all settle for the free wine on the table. I decide it's now a good time to go out and smoke a joint to myself. I come back in and the rest of my memory's pretty hazy, but I do remember I become drunk and bouncers ask me to leave. I go outside, but I'm not ready to leave. I know the building better than the bouncers, so I start sneaking in the back door and I sit back at the table, much to the amusement of those sitting at the table. I drink more, I forget that I've been thrown out, and I go outside to smoke a cigarette. The bouncer can't believe his eyes how I've managed to get back in there past him, and on my way back in he refuses entry again, but I sneak back in the back and I drink some more. I forget, I go outside, smoke again, and this happens over and over and over. And they start to wonder how I'm getting back in. They eventually work it out. They finally call me a taxi and I'm refusing to get in it, and it takes a chef talking me down and pretty much forcing me in this car to get me away. The second time is at another staff party in the Classroom Bistro in Nairn. Close up the restaurant early as planned and people are starting to arrive with beers and a bottle of spirit. I've only got beers with me though, so I race to the shop and I buy myself some Jägermeister, tell myself I'll just have a couple of my beers to be like everyone else. And I start loading up on the Jägermeister and the beer simultaneously while getting changed into my chef whites, having told them I suffer from social anxiety. It's a good excuse now to get loaded. So I've had 4 or 5 drinks and I'm the last person to join the party. They're already playing a drinking alcohol game and it's a lot of fun and it's very funny. This is my last memory that's very strong. The party escalates to a staff member's house where I start to become a bit of a nuisance. I'm spilling drinks, stumbling and just generally being annoying to everyone. It's not long before I'm so annoying that somebody would rather fork out £50 of their own money to put me in a taxi and drive me 16 miles home. Rather than putting up with my behaviour, that's what they did. Shocking. The third time is at a small restaurant in Inverness, which I won't name because I wasn't the only guilty party this time. And every night when we would finish, we would be given a free beer. And we'd only be given one because on other occasions other chefs had previously drunk that bar completely dry, to the point where when the barman came in there wasn't a single beer left in the premises to sell to customers. So every night it would start with just one free beer. All the chefs had very craftily befriended the barman, and including myself. So after that free beer, it was commonplace to ask the barman to sneak us another, and another, and another. And we'd be speaking to the management outside about the business while sneakily opening up these beers and getting loaded on them, while the barman was helping us steal them. I'd be buying Valium from a chef who worked with there and popping them down with the beer. And it didn't end there. I woke up hungover, I'd pop one Valium, the hangover would immediately stop and I'd feel great and go to work. I'd start popping them one after the other until I could hardly speak, let alone run a kitchen and lead a team. Which ultimately led to my dismissal there. And it just never ever stopped at that one beer. And the fourth time was while I was working at this Prestonfield House Hotel again. I frequently would go out with another chef, and every time we'd promise each other we'd just go for 1 to 2 pints max and we'd go home for bed for work the next day. Not even halfway down the second pint, one of us would be on the phone to the dealer getting a baggie of cocaine, the first one, which would lead to multiple bags after that were bought and ticked that neither of us could afford to pay. And we would pay it though, so we could do it again the next time. The fifth time was when my ex-wife, before we did the private counselling, in a nightclub in Gran Canaria, we agreed to go for a couple of drinks just to check out the nightlife. That was the plan. And at that time I'd been teaching myself Spanish because I worked with many Spaniards and I was wanting to know what they were saying. They taught me though in Spain there's no spirit measures law and you can simply just ask for more by saying por favor, más por favor. So once we get into the nightclub, I immediately put this to the test. And it's not very long before I've drank half a bottle of tequila in just a couple of glasses. I end up throwing a bottle behind me without even looking. It smashes in the nightclub and we get chucked out of the nightclub. While my ex is trying to negotiate with the bar staff to stop me being banged up abroad. And that was just after a couple of drinks to check out the nightlife. The sixth time was when I was only 18. I was working at the Claymore House Hotel in my hometown Nairn. I was in a house party, popping ecstasy pills, one after the other. And my insane addict brain, even at 18 years old, tells everyone I'm working at 7 AM and so I'm going to take the last pill at 3. And even with no sleep, I'll be absolutely sound for work. I convinced myself. So needless to say, it gets to 6 AM and I've decided to take the last pill. They've not stopped up to this point. I walk to work and I've truly convinced myself that I'm as straight as a pin, and I actually genuinely believe this at the time. And when I get there to the kitchen, I turn on the bright lights, and I'll never forget these bright lights. As soon as they come on and hit them massive pupils, it just felt like I dropped another pill on that spot there and then. I find myself serving the stinkiest kipper that I've ever remembered. I'm trying not to spew on the plate with my chef's jacket pulled over my nose like this because I can't handle the smell. I've got pupils like 2 pennies and I'm handing this plate of food to the woman. And I'm absolutely wired to the moon trying to pretend I'm straight. The 7th time is when I bought 7 grams of cocaine. I had the intention of selling 6 grams and taking 1. I only managed to sell the first 2 grams and started to sniff the other 5. As it got down to 2 grams left, people are phoning me asking for it, and I've already told them it's finished. I'm already regretting selling the first 2 as well. I quickly learned that I'm not capable of selling cocaine. The 8th time was when I tried crack cocaine. I thought I'll just try it to see why everybody's taking it. 7 days later, I still haven't slept, and the only thing stopping me from taking more is the people that were giving me it for free had run out and they had no money. They were totally skint and I had no money at the time. I went home to my mum's couch to suffer the most brutal 4-day come down that I've ever endured in my life, and I'd taken a lot of uppers as a teen. The 9th time was every single time that I've bought weed, bar none, I've told myself it's going to last a certain amount of days, and never ever once has the weed ever lasted as long as I've said. It's always been done before and I'm wondering how I can get more. The 10th time is again popping pills in what's meant to be a one-night party, and 3 days later I still haven't slept. I find myself down at the local caravan park in Nairn with a friend that I grew up with who's managed to convince himself that with the power of his mind he can raise and lower a car's suspension that's parked by itself just with the power of his mind. He's starting to hallucinate from the lack of sleep, and he's getting very, very angry because I don't believe him. He goes on and on and on about it, so I start to humour him, and I start watching these cars like a lunatic. And he's like, see, I did it again. He's so excited. And I'm like, nah, didn't see it, mate. You know, and now he's furious that I'm not believing him, to the point he just will not shut up about it until I stare at this car that's parked in a dark car park with a caravan park. So I just do it for the peace, to be honest. But while we're both staring at this car for an unhealthy amount of time, I'm starting to ask myself, am I starting to believe this Looney Tune? My next memory is my eyes suddenly open and I realise I've fallen asleep standing up, which at that time I didn't even know was possible. I now do. This scared the hell out of me, so I finally called it a night 3 days later. So, these are just some of the crazy situations that drink and drugs have brought me to, and they're certainly not them all. It's crazy how an alcoholic addict's mind can suddenly forget about all these insane nights and things that's happened that I've told you about and I continue to use, with the delusion that somehow I can control it this time. And this time will be different to all the other crazy times and things that's happened. I could literally write a book on the things I've done. This is merely a snippet of the madness that I've lived. And it now blows my mind thinking about it with a clear head. So, join me tomorrow again for another daily update on my sobriety journey. Please like, share and subscribe to the show so others know they're not alone and we can give them the confidence to reach out and get the help they need to potentially change and save their life one day at a time.